Hey everyone, welcome back to LiterateLens. If you're new here, this is where we dive deep into life-changing books and extract the wisdom that can actually transform how you think and live. And today, we're talking about a book that completely flips the script on success, leadership, and inspiration. We're diving into SimonSinek's Start with Why. Now, before we jump in, if you love learning from books but don't always have time to read them cover to cover, hit that subscribe button. Every week, we're bringing you powerful insights from books that can genuinely change your life. All right, let's get into it. So picture this. It's 1903, and the race to build the first airplane is heating up. There's this guy named Samuel Pierpont Langley. He's a professor at Harvard. He's got all the right connections. The Smithsonian Institution is backing him, and he's received a $50,000 grant from the War Department. That's like getting millions today. He's got the best minds, the best resources, everything money can buy. Everyone's betting on him to make history. But then on the other side, there are these two brothers running a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, Wilbur and Orville Wright. No college education, no funding, no connections. They're financing their dream with money from their bicycle shop. Nobody's even heard of them. And yet, on December 17th, 1903, it's the Wright brothers who achieve powered flight, not Langley. The underdogs win. So what happened? Why did two bicycle mechanics beat a well-funded, well-connected professor? SimonSinek says it comes down to one simple thing. The Wright brothers knew their why. Langley was chasing fame and fortune. He wanted to be first, to be recognized, to be rich. But the Wright brothers, they believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, they could change the course of the world. They had a purpose, a cause, a belief. And that belief attracted people who believed what they believed. Their team wasn't working for a paycheck. They were working for something bigger than themselves. And here's the crazy part. The moment the Wright brothers succeeded, Langley just quit. He had all the resources to keep going, to improve the design, but he didn't, because his why was about being first. Once someone else was first, his motivation disappeared. The Wright brothers kept going because their why was about the bigger picture. That's the power of starting with why. Now, let's talk about you and me for a second. Think about your own life. How many times have you started something, a project, a goal, a business idea, and then just lost steam halfway through? You were excited at first, but then it got hard and you couldn't remember why you even started. That's because most of us focus on what we're doing or how we're doing it, but we forget the most important question: why are we doing it in the first place? SimonSinek introduces this concept he calls the golden circle. Imagine three circles, one inside the other. The outermost circle is what, the middle circle is how, and the smallest circle, right at the center, is why. Most people and most companies start from the outside and work their way in. They know what they do. Some know how they do it, but very few know why they do it. And by why, Sinek doesn't mean to make money. That's a result. He means, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Here's where it gets really interesting. Sinek says that the companies and leaders who inspire us, who we trust and follow, they all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. They start with why. Think about Apple. When Apple communicates, they don't start by saying, "We make great computers." They start with why. They believe in challenging the status quo. They believe in thinking differently. Everything they do proves what they believe. The way they make their products beautiful and simple, that's how. The computers and phones and watches, that's what. But it all starts with why. And that's why people don't just buy Apple products. They believe in Apple. They're emotionally connected. Compare that to most other tech companies. They say, "We make great computers. They're fast. They have amazing processors. Want to buy one?" It's not inspiring. There's no emotional connection. You might buy the computer if you need one, but you're not going to camp outside the store for 3 days to get it first. Apple customers do that. Why? Because they're not buying a product. They're buying a belief. And this isn't just about companies. This is about you, your career, your relationships, your life. When you know your why, you have clarity. You make better decisions. You attract people who believe what you believe. You inspire others. You feel fulfilled. When you don't know your why, you're just going through the motions. You feel lost, disconnected, like something's missing even when you're successful. Sinek shares this fascinating example about Southwest Airlines. In the airline industry, everyone's trying to be the best, have the fanciest seats, the best food, the most routes. But Southwest, their why is about freedom. They believe everyone should be able to fly. Their whole business model is built around that belief. Low costs, no frills, point-to-point routes that save time. Everything they do serves their why. And because of that clarity, they make decisions easily. Should we add a fancy first-class section? Nope, doesn't serve our why. Should we serve expensive meals? Nope. They're not trying to be the best airline. They're trying to democratize air travel. And their customers and employees love them for it. Here's something really powerful that Sinek talks about. He says people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This is about biology, not psychology. The part of our brain that controls decision-making, that makes us feel trust and loyalty, that's the limbic brain. And it doesn't understand language. It's the part that controls feelings like trust and loyalty. The rational part of our brain, the neocortex, that's what processes facts and figures, the what and the how. But it doesn't drive behavior. That's why you can give someone all the facts, all the features, all the logical reasons to do something, and they still won't do it. It doesn't feel right. But when you communicate your why, you're speaking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior. That's why we say things like, I don't know, it just feels right. Or, that doesn't sit well with me. We're not being irrational. We're listening to the part of our brain that's making the decision, but it doesn't have the capacity for language. That gut feeling, that's your limbic brain talking. This is why inspiration works and manipulation doesn't. Companies can manipulate you into buying with price drops, promotions, fear, peer pressure, aspirational messages, and it works short term. You'll buy that one time, but you won't be loyal. You won't tell your friends. You won't come back unless there's another discount. Manipulation breeds transactions, not loyalty. Inspiration breeds loyalty. When you inspire people, when you start with why, you create followers, people who will stick with you not because of what you do, but because of why you do it. Let me tell you about Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't say, I have a plan. He said, I have a dream. He started with why. He believed in a world where people would be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. That was his why. And people who believed what he believed showed up. They marched with him. They risked their lives, not for him, but for the cause, for the belief. 250,000 people showed up to hear him speak in Washington, D.C. And this was before email, before social media, before mass communication as we know it. How did they all know to come? They didn't. They came because they believed what he believed. And here's the thing. Not everyone believed. Some people thought he was wrong, that change should happen differently. But he didn't try to convince everyone. He focused on the people who believed what he believed. That's the law of diffusion of innovation. There are innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. If you want mass market success, you need to achieve a tipping point of about 15 to 18% market penetration. And you get there by focusing on the early adopters, the people who believe what you believe. They're the ones who will take the risk, who will stand in line for hours, who will tell their friends, who will be loyal even when things get tough. Most companies try to appeal to everyone, to the masses, but that's backwards. You have to start with the believers. They're the ones who will get you to the tipping point. Then the rest will follow, because people follow people. We look to others to guide our behavior. Now let's talk about something really important. The why can't just be something you say. It has to be something you live. Sinek talks about authenticity. If your why isn't real, if it's just marketing speak, people will know. They'll feel it. Remember, they're not listening with their rational brain. They're feeling with their limbic brain. You can't fake authenticity. Think about leaders you admire. They're consistent. Their actions match their words. They live their why every single day. That's what builds trust. And trust is everything. Without trust, you have nothing. No loyalty, no following, no inspiration.
There's this concept Sinek introduces called the celery test. Imagine you're at a dinner party and people are giving you advice about growing your business. One person says you need to add Oreos. Another says you need M&Ms. Another says you need rice milk. Another says celery. So you go to the store and buy all of it. It costs a lot of money and a lot of time. And when someone looks in your cart, they have no idea what you stand for. What are you about? Snacks? Health food? No clarity.
But if you know your why, if you believe in health and wellness, the decision is easy. You buy the celery and the rice milk. You skip the Oreos and M&Ms. Doesn't matter if they're good advice for someone else, they're not right for your why. And now when someone looks in your cart, they know exactly what you're about. They can see your why. That's clarity, that's discipline, that's consistency. This applies to everything. Every decision you make, every action you take, every person you hire, every product you create, it should all pass the celery test. Does this serve my why? If not, don't do it. It doesn't matter if it's working for someone else, it has to work for your why. Sinek also talks about what happens when companies lose their why. They start to decline. They become just another commodity. They have to compete on price and features because they've lost the emotional connection. Customers leave, employees become disengaged. It's a slow death. He gives the example of Walmart. Sam Walton built Walmart on a why. He believed in helping ordinary people afford the things they needed. That was his purpose. Everything was designed around low prices so regular families could buy what they needed. Employees believed in that mission. Customers loved him for it. But over time, especially after Sam Walton passed away, the why got fuzzy. It became more about being the biggest, having the most stores, maximizing profit. And the culture changed. Employee satisfaction dropped. The company faced criticism. They were still successful by the numbers, but the soul was different. This is the split that happens. The what can grow while the why shrinks. You can be successful and still lose your way. That's why great leaders constantly reinforce the why. They tell the story over and over. They make sure everyone in the organization knows why they exist, not just what they do. And here's something for all of us to think about personally. What's your why? Not your job title, not your role, but your why. Why do you do what you do? What's your purpose? If you can't answer that, it's time to figure it out. Because when you know your why, everything else falls into place. You know what opportunities to say yes to and what to say no to. You know what kind of people you want around you. You feel energized and motivated even when things get hard. Finding your why isn't always easy. It requires introspection. Sinek says to look at your past. Think about the moments when you felt most fulfilled, most alive, most proud. What were you doing? Why did it matter? There's usually a pattern, a thread that connects those moments. That's your why. And once you find it, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, live it, let it guide you. Because the world needs more people who know their why, more leaders who inspire rather than manipulate, more companies that stand for something beyond profit, more individuals living with purpose and passion. The beautiful thing is, when you start with why, you give others permission to start with their why too. You create a ripple effect. You inspire people not just to follow you, but to lead themselves. That's the ultimate impact. So, as we wrap up, I want you to think about this. What's your why? What do you believe? What change do you want to see in the world? And how are you living that every single day? These aren't easy questions, but they're the most important questions you'll ever answer. Simon Sinek's Start With Why isn't just a business book. It's a life philosophy. It's a reminder that success isn't just about what you achieve, but why you're achieving it. It's about living with purpose, leading with inspiration, and creating something that matters beyond yourself. If this summary resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and join the LiterateLens family. We're building a community of learners, thinkers, and doers who believe that books have the power to change lives.
Every week, we're breaking down powerful books like this one, extracting the wisdom and helping you apply it to your life. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's your why? I genuinely want to know. And if you haven't figured it out yet, that's okay too. The journey of discovery is just as important as the destination. Thank you so much for spending these 90 minutes with me. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, always start with why. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep turning those pages. This is LiterateLens, signing off.